Welcome to the CTDOT's virtual public info meeting for project 0134-0155, replacement of bridge number 04438 in Stafford. We will begin the session shortly. Please use the Q&A function to submit your feedback, comments, and/or questions for the presenter.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual public informational meeting for CTDOT project number 134-155, replacement of bridge number 4438 in Stafford. My name is Mark Burns, and I'm the project manager of the department's local bridge program. Here are some quick links on how to reach us by email, by phone, and we also encourage you to visit the project webpage. Next slide, please. Here's a quick slide on how to use captions and subtitles in Zoom. On the menu bar below, you can click Show Captions and then select the speaking language you would like to hear from the list shown. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, are available on YouTube after the event. Overview for tonight's meeting. We're going to do some general housekeeping, followed by a formal presentation of the design, which will explain the existing conditions and define the purpose and need for the project, as well as our proposed recommendations. Please bear in mind, we are still at 30% design roughly, so this is the time when we go to the public to solicit comments. Following the formal presentation, we'll have a live question and answer session. I'll now read this slide on Title VI, Civil Rights. No person shall on the basis of race, color, or national origin be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. We highly encourage you to fill out the voluntary post-meeting survey located at the QR code and link shown, and a link has also been provided in the chat. We also encourage you to visit the department's Title Civil Rights information page from the Office of Equity. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the CTDOT's YouTube channel after the event, and closed captioning, including non-English translation options, are available on Zoom and YouTube. Here's another slide regarding the department's Title VI notice to the public. And the same slide in Spanish. During the Q&A session, following the formal presentation, in order to ask a question, on the menu bar below, press the Q&A button, and then a window will pop up, and you can type in your answer right in that window and click enter, and it will be posted to the Q&A. If you're an audio-only participant, you can dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. You can also reach out to us by email at dot-flbp@ct.gov, by phone at 860-594-2020, which is a monitored voicemail line, and during the Zoom Q&A following the presentation. And again, here's the link to the project webpage. Now, the Zoom Q&A is only available during the Q&A session tonight, but the comment period is open until December 31st, 2024. The funding for this project is funded through the Federal Local Bridge Program, Design Managed by State, or DMS program. In the past, the Federal Local Bridge Program offered an 80% reimbursement for design rights of way and construction, and the town would pay 20% match for those phases. Under DMS, design rights of way and construction phases are now funded with a minimum of 80% federal and a maximum of 20% state funds. Design rights of way and construction phases are at no cost to the town. And even though we're using our CTDOT resources for the design of the project, it is still a full partnership, and we've been coordinating with the town at all key milestones. The goals of the DMS program were to provide a streamlined approach to design using full DOT resources, to aid the towns to keep their bridges in a state of good repair by effective use of funds, to decrease typical project design time from 60 months plus to a 24 to 36-month design phase, and to utilize accelerated bridge construction techniques where applicable to shorten construction duration, and to also increase the number of municipal projects delivered in each construction year. Okay. This is the CTDOT project team. Bart Sweeney is our division chief of bridges. Derek Lassard is the principal engineer of the consultant design group. I'm Mark Burns, project manager for the local bridge program. Michelle Rain is the project engineer for this project. And Zach Garino is our rights of way project coordinator. Representing Clough Harbor and Associates, or CHA, who acts as our liaison and assists us through the design of this project, are Don Wurst, CLE team lead, Anand Seshadri, CLE project manager, and Rob Baylor, project engineer. Before we get to this slide, I'm going to turn it over briefly to Bill Morrison, first selectman from the town of Stafford, so he can make some remarks. Bill?
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here today. Happy to be at this milestone. I'd like to introduce myself, Bill Morrison. I am the first selectman of the vacation spot of the North Quiet Corner, Stafford Springs. I want to give a shout out for a couple of reasons to the state of Connecticut and your team, Mark, for the help in this. I do recognize that this is a scour critical structure and that repairs are necessary. And the fact that the funding is coming from the state and federal program at no cost to the town, I think is something that our town appreciates. I also appreciate the fact that the state has been keeping us in the loop on in a part of this process throughout. While this has been a challenge because of the structure location, I do applaud all the team for keeping us abreast of the happenings. I want to give a shout out also to our Public Works Director here in Stafford Springs, Devin Copperwaite. He has been my go-to and the liaison between me and the DOT. Devin do a great job on this. Thanks for getting us to where we are. I realize that a project like this comes with a lot of struggles. We, as far as the town is concerned, look forward to getting this to a resolve, and I do want to continue to work with the abutter and the state cooperatively in this project. So once again, I appreciate all, Mark, that your team has done for us to get us here. Appreciate the work that our public works director has done, and with that, I would look forward to the presentation.
Thank you very much, Bill. Here's a slide indicating key structural elements of a bridge. Carrying vehicles, pedestrians, or other modes of transportation is the deck. Protecting those travelers are the parapets, which in this case would avoid anyone falling over into hazards in the river. Supporting the deck and parapet is the superstructure. In the case of this diagram, is made from steel beams. Supporting the superstructure are the abutments, otherwise known as the substructure, and piers. In this case, in this diagram, there is a mid-span pier. Depending on the length of the bridge, there could be no piers or multiple piers present. Also acting for earth retention are the wing walls, which will be on each abutment on the bridge approaches as part of the substructure. Bridges are rated on a scale of 1 to 9, with 9 being in excellent condition and 1 being in imminent failure or recommendation for closure. Now, even though this sounds concerning, the CTDOT inspects bridges on a routine basis, and if there are any major issues, the department would alert the town to make the necessary precautions. Here's a brief slide indicating some different types of concrete deterioration. Efflorescence is a chemical reaction that results in mineral deposits coming out from inside the concrete, resulting in that white substance shown there. Honeycombing is a result of improper setup. When a concrete is poured, if the forms are released and it wasn't set up properly, you'll see that result. Scaling is a result of freeze thaw actions, which the top of the concrete, as shown here, is starting to get worn out due to frost. Map cracking is another type of deterioration where small cracks get in and then there's more water and freeze thaw and it gets progressively worse. And then a more serious condition is spalling, where the top layer of the concrete has cured faster than the inside layer of concrete, and there's a temperature reaction causing the exterior of the concrete to come off and exposing the reinforcing shown there. I'll now turn over to Rob Baylor for the formal presentation. Rob?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Mark. I'm Rob Baylor from CHA. We're the consultant liaison engineer for this project. And I'm here to provide the technical portion of this presentation. So as was mentioned before, this is for project 134-155, which is the replacement of bridge 4438 in the town of Stafford. Start with the project location map here, which shows where this bridge is located. So bridge 4438 is shown in the center of this map, which is approximately 300 feet to the east of Fenton Road, which runs north to south here. The bridge carries Stonehouse Road, running east to west through the project area, over Roaring Brook, which runs from north to south through the project area. The bridge services the Nipmuc State Forest and also a single residence 5 Stonehouse Road to the east of the bridge. Some existing roadway data for Stonehouse Road is that it's classified as a rural local road. The bridge roadway width at the bridge here is 12 feet wide, and traffic is controlled by just alternating traffic. The approach roadway width on the west side is 27 feet wide and 14 feet on the east side of the road, on the east side of the bridge. The average daily traffic is 15 vehicles per day. The 85th percentile speed is about 16 miles per hour, and the design speed is 20 miles per hour. There's no posted speed limit on this roadway. The existing bridge data is shown here on this slide. The bridge was originally constructed in 1958, so it's about 66 years old. It was rehabilitated in 2002, where a deck replacement and abutment repairs were performed on the bridge. The existing bridge is a 2-span bridge with a maximum span length of 12 feet and a total bridge length of 29 feet. Bridge components include a superstructure comprised of 6 continuous steel girders. The substructure is stone masonry abutments and a concrete center pier. The foundation for the abutments is unknown. However, it's likely masonry footings on soil or bedrock, and the pier has a spread footing. Here's some existing hydraulic data. So because this bridge is over water, hydraulics is a big concern. The existing watershed for Roaring Brook at the bridge is 13.9 square miles. The clear span of the bridge is 23 feet, which is from the abutment face to abutment face and pier face. 23 feet, which is less than 1.2 times the bankfull width of 42 feet. The underclearance, which is the distance from the 100-year storm elevation to the low chord elevation, which is the lowest elevation of the superstructure beams, is negative 0.4 feet. The freeboard is negative 1.6 feet, which is from the roadway low point to the elevation of the 100-year storm elevation. The roadway low point is about 165 feet to the east of the bridge. Backwater is 0.8 feet when compared to no bridge at the site. There's a maximum of one feet for this. And the scour critical rating is 3, which means that the foundations are considered scour critical. I'd like to go over the existing conditions of the bridge. As Mark shared before, bridges are rated routinely by Connecticut DOT on a scale of 1 to 9, with 1 being the worst and 9 being excellent condition. There are a number of bridge elements on this bridge that are rated in serious condition, including the paint of the superstructure and various elements of the substructure, the abutments and the piers. The existing bridge railing is rated as set in satisfactory condition at a 6. However, it doesn't meet current safety standards. Another thing I wanted to mention is that there was a load rating performed on this bridge in 2004, and there's currently no posted weight restrictions on the bridge. I'd like to go through a few slides of pictures to give an overall view of this project site. Photo on the top left and top right showed the south elevation and the north elevation respectively. You can see the 2-span bridge, stone masonry abutments, and concrete center pier. Photo on the lower left shows Stonehouse Road from the west approach. So coming in from the west side, you can see the bridge in the background here. There are 2 parking areas on both the north and the south side of the roadway to access the state forest. One of those, the north parking area is shown in this photo on the lower right. You can see there's a trail that leads from this parking area up to Fenton Road. There's also a utility pole here. Oh, there's overhead utilities that cross over the river. Photo on the upper left shows the parking area at the southwest corner of the bridge. Upper right photo shows the bridge looking to the east. You can see here there's the overhead utilities, and there's you can also see how the roadway narrows down here at the west approach to the narrow bridge approach, or the narrow bridge width. Photo on the lower left shows the east approach. So looking east from the bridge, there's a trail that goes off to the north, driveway that goes off to the south. See the utility pole here, and the abutter here that is located just to the east of the bridge. Photo on the lower right shows another photo of the east approach. This is taken from the driveway. You can see the bridge is here in the background, and just here on the side of the picture, you can see there's a barn or garage that is very close to the river. Upper left photo shows a typical east approach barrier wall, stone masonry, to guide vehicles onto the bridge. Upper right photo shows a typical west approach barrier, which is just some timber posts. There's no wire rail, just the posts. Lower left photo shows the condition of the timber bridge deck with no bituminous overlay. It's just a bare timber bridge deck. It's currently rated at a 7 in good condition. Photo on the lower right shows the condition of the timber bridge rail and the curb, both which are rated a 6 in satisfactory condition. Upper left photo here shows the south fascia. You can see the timber bridge rail here mounted to the steel beams. Upper right photo shows the underside of the deck. You can see the timber bridge deck supported by the steel beams. Lower left photo shows a picture of the west abutment. You can see the stone masonry that this is comprised of. There's significant voids and scour of the existing abutments. You can see here where this arrow is pointing a pretty significant void that goes into the abutment, and the wing wall here is rated in poor condition at a 4. Photo on the lower right shows the abutment rating at a 3. This is the east abutment. The east abutment has been faced with concrete to better support the the stone masonry that's behind it. Photo on the top left shows a picture of the center pier. You can see the spread footing, which this arrow is pointing to, which is exposed. The pier is rated in poor condition at a 3. Photo on the top right shows the upstream channel of Roaring Brook, and the downstream channel is shown in the lower left photo. You can see that barn that is close to the river here, which is also shown in the photo on the lower right. The project purpose is to address the bridge deficiencies, including the scour critical condition and the serious condition of the existing substructure. If deterioration on the bridge continues and it's not addressed, at some point the bridge may need to be closed. Another goal of the project is to improve condition of the town roadway infrastructure at no cost to the town. The proposed rehabilitation for this project is a full bridge replacement. And despite the deficiencies that we've noted in this bridge, the serious condition, at this point, the bridge is currently safe for the traveling public and will continue to be regularly inspected by Connecticut DOT. The proposed improvements that we're proposing with this project is to replace the existing bridge with a single span pre-stressed concrete deck unit bridge, similar to what's shown in the photo here. We're proposing a 45-foot span, single span bridge, so we'll be eliminating the center pier. The proposed bridge will be able to carry the required design, legal, and permit vehicles. The bridge will have a 75-year service life with minimal maintenance. The bridge will provide a 14-foot wide roadway with alternating one-way traffic, and the bridge will have an open bridge rail system which meets current safety standards. Some other improvements that we're proposing as part of the project are to install stone masonry facing to the exposed faces of the concrete, so the end blocks shown in this lower left photo and the wing walls. We'll also propose a metallized bridge rail to the color of the town's choosing. Here's a picture of the proposed cross section of the bridge. So this is, if you were to take a slice through the bridge and look along the roadway, this is what you would see. So the bridge is supported by the pre-stressed concrete deck units, the 5 deck units down here at the bottom. Those support a 6-inch minimum concrete topping slab, and then there'll be the bituminous concrete or asphalt overlay on top of that. On both sides of the bridge is proposed a 3-tube curb-mounted open bridge rail. This will provide for a 14-foot curb-to-curb width and a total out-to-out width of 17.5 feet. Here's a proposed bridge plan. The proposed bridge is shown in orange here, providing a 45-foot span length as previously noted, and a 42-foot clear span. The clear span provided here meets the requirements for 1.2 times bank full width. On all 4 corners of the bridge, we're proposing U-type wing walls with curved barrier walls to support the roadway embankment. As shown in yellow here on both sides of the bridge is the approach roadway, which will be full depth roadway reconstruction to tie into the existing roadway. The blue is the river underneath, which flows from north to south. And on the west side of the bridge here on the left side in orange are the 2 parking areas for access to the river and the state forest. And this orange area on the right is the driveway that will be reconstructed. Here's an elevation view of the proposed bridge. In orange is the superstructure. The pre-stressed deck units, supporting the concrete bridge deck and the metal bridge rail. Shown in gray is the abutments with the wing walls. The wing walls will be, the exposed faces of the wing walls, as I mentioned before, will be faced with stone masonry. This elevation is showing here the 100-year storm, which is the design storm for the bridge, will have an underclearance of 0.2 feet, an improvement from the existing negative 0.4 feet. Freeboard will be improved to negative 1.4 feet from the existing negative 1.6, and backwater will be improved from 0.8 feet to 0.6 feet. Here's a roadway plan of the proposed bridge. The roadway here is east to west, north is up, and the river runs from north to south, so from the top to the bottom of the slide. The proposed bridge is shown in orange. You can see the approach roadways shown in yellow, which will be the roadway reconstruction about 300 feet in order to tie into the existing roadway. The green shown on all four corners here is some proposed grading as part of the project. And as part of this proposed roadway plan, we're not proposing guide rail, and the traffic in the proposed condition will be controlled with stop signs and will be alternating one-way traffic across the bridge. For the proposed roadway profile, we're proposing to raise the roadway at the bridge in order to raise the elevation of the bridge and improve hydraulic performance. So that's how we can improve the hydraulics, by raising the profile. You can see here the dashed line is the existing ground line, and the proposed is in yellow here. So we're raising the bridge approximately 1.5 feet to 2 feet at the bridge. So during construction, in order to maintain traffic, we are proposing to install a temporary bridge to the north of the existing bridge. There will be an approach roadway, temporary approach roadway constructed in order to allow traffic to flow across the proposed temporary bridge while the existing bridge is being removed and the proposed bridge will be built. This will be alternating one-way traffic across the bridge, and the bridge will be 12 feet wide and approximately 60 feet long. On the right here is the profile of the temporary bridge. So as part of this project, there's going to be some impacts to utilities and other items which I'd like to go through. So as far as utilities, there's overhead utilities on the north side of the bridge. These will need to be temporarily relocated or permanently relocated. However, during construction, all utility services will be maintained. And there's no historical or archaeological impacts as part of the project. Other impacts to go through related to environmental impacts, there will be some tree clearing along the roadway, especially on the north side. These pictures here on the right show where that will be. Tree clearing mostly on the north side, as I mentioned, due to the installation of the temporary bridge. There will be temporary and permanent wetland and watercourse impacts as part of the project. Temporary water handling will be required in order to maintain stream flow during construction and allow the existing bridge to be removed and the proposed bridge to be built. Best management practices for fish and wildlife will also be followed during the project. Anticipated permits for the project are a Town of Stafford inland wetland permit and a U.S. Army Corps of engineer self-verification. As part of the project, we are anticipating some rights-of-way impacts. As shown here on this screen, I'll walk through those briefly. So again, the roadway is aligned horizontally here, and the bridge, or the rowing brook, runs north to south on the slide. So on the north of the bridge, which is state of Connecticut property, we're anticipating a temporary construction easement, a right to grade the driveway and the parking area here, and some slope easements. On the south side of the bridge, the southeast side, at the abutter property, we're anticipating a right to grade driveway, some slope easements, and a small partial take, as shown in green, to maintain the wing wall. Property on the lower left, the southwest corner, will also have a right to grade the driveway and parking area, and a permanent slope easement. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Zach from Connecticut DOT Rights of Way.
Thanks, Rob. My name is Zachary Garino, and I'm a project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights of Way. Our office is responsible for acquiring the property rights needed for transportation projects. As Rob had mentioned in the presentation, this project will require the acquisition of property rights. I'd like to give a brief overview of our acquisition process. Before I begin, I'd like to mention that the specific impacts are still being finalized and they may change as the design progresses, and that any required property rights will be acquired in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, sections 13A73, 13A98E, as well as the Uniform Act. Good, change the slide. So the right-of-way acquisition process begins once the design has progressed to a development milestone and all the impacts have been determined. At this point, each affected property owner will receive a formal letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map which depicts the exact property rights to be acquired. And on the screen here is an example of a property map that an owner may receive. It's going to show the existing conditions as well as the proposed improvements. So then our office will determine the fair market value of the property rights which are depicted on that map and use it to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer will be sent out to the property owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with the property owner and explain the project, go over the specific impacts to their property, and explain how the state arrived at its offer. The property owner will be given a reasonable amount of time, typically 30 days, to consider the state's offer and enter negotiations. When an agreement is reached, the department will prepare all the necessary paperwork to record the deed and property map on the town land records. However, if agreement cannot be reached, in order to keep on schedule, the department may acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. In that event, the state files a notice of condemnation in the Superior Court, along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's original offer. The owner would have 6 months from that date to file an appeal if they felt that the state's offer was inadequate. Whether or not the owner chooses to appeal, the money deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner. And it's important to note that the state only acquires property rights that are needed for the specific project. If there are any questions regarding the right-of-way acquisition process, I can answer them after the presentation. With that, I hand it back to Rob. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Zach. Last slide I'd like to go over is the project schedule and construction costs. So construction is anticipated to start in the spring of 2027. However, that's subject to right-of-way and permit approvals, and we're anticipating a single construction season of 8 months from about April to November. Construction cost is anticipated to be about $3.5 million. As mentioned before in earlier slides, 80% of that cost will be covered in federal funding and 20% by state funding at no cost to the town. Cost and schedule are preliminary and subject to change at this point in the design. And at this time, I will pass it back to Michelle.
Thanks, Rob. Great job. So we'll now move on to the live Q&A portion of the presentation. We do have one question. I will let everybody know that you can send your questions to us by email at dot-flbp@ct.gov, or you can leave us a voicemail by phone 860-594-2020. Please reference the project number 134-155 in your voicemail, or you can send us your questions right now during the live Q&A. Our first question is from Catherine. She asked where are the funds coming from. Could somebody give her a little bit better, more detailed of an explanation on that?
I can I can answer that, Michelle.
Thanks. Mark.
Funding is through the Federal Bridge Program or the off-system funds. The federal government provides the state with funding for infrastructure, and a certain percentage of that funding needs to be set aside for municipally owned structures. So that's where the federal fund is coming from. Funds are coming from. Then the state funds will be through our state bridge bonds.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. Our next question when will it be completed?
I can take that one, Michelle. So at this point, we're anticipating construction to start in the spring of 2027, and construction will be completed by the end of 2027, so November timeframe of 2027. Again, that's subject to change based on rights of way acquisitions and permit approvals.
Thanks, Rob. I see. Okay, perfect. I see we have a hand raised. Hold on one moment. Hi, Scott and Karen, you're unmuted. You can talk now.
Okay. This is Karen. I talked to Devin and talked to him about the possibility of if you're going to put a temporary bridge upstream and have to build two bridges now, would the state consider moving the permanent bridge in the temporary bridge area and just removing the existing bridge? That would avoid a lot of damage to our property. It would avoid probably a lot of the eminent domain issues because it would be further away from our property. And I'm sure the time frame on the construction and the cost would be much less. So is that being considered?
Thanks for your question, Karen. I'll let them get to the answer.
Yeah, I can start with the answer there, and then anyone else can chime in as well. But yes, Karen, thanks for bringing that up. We did consider that early on. I know we had some conversations regarding that option, and we did evaluate it. There's a couple concerns with it at this point. We've come, as Mark mentioned previously, about 30% into the design. So we've progressed 30% into the design with the current alignment. So maintaining the existing alignment, which I'll show you here on the slide. So we had received feedback early on that preference was to maintain the existing alignment. And as part of all of this, there's been some significant amount of design analysis gone into it, including hydraulic design and geotech design. It would take a decent amount of work to go back and realign the roadway further to the north. That if the roadway were aligned to the north, then we could use the existing bridge during construction for traffic. Which again is an option. but it would likely result in some delays to the project schedule. We have to go back and get reapproval for the design. So there's a couple of options, and we can give it some more consideration, but anyone else can chime in on that as well.
Hi, this is Anand Seshadri from CHA. Rob, could you maybe speak to the slide that shows the conceptual plan? So, I mean, apart from the fact that there are, the design issues, there's also the roadway realignment, which maybe you can talk about. So this slide here basically shows our conceptual plan when we were originally trying to move to the north. And as you can see, some of the cons or the negatives are that from a roadway alignment perspective, the alignment that we showed earlier on was more of a smoother curve. This one has a bunch of reverse curves and multiple curves, so that makes the horizontal alignment somewhat less desirable. We also have so this alignment will probably require us to go a little longer towards the approaches to tie in to the bridge project, and probably require additional site clearing. And then, as Rob mentioned, with the alignment that we showed in the presentation, we are sort of we have the highway and the bridge plans and all of that little more developed, approximately 30%. And so switching back is something that, I mean, not that we cannot consider, we can definitely evaluate it and we can take your comment, but it does involve some amount of rework, which could then obviously result in some delays to the originally planned schedule. And one other, I guess, drawback is that we are continuing to use a bridge that today is currently in serious condition and is cover critical. So our aim is to get that bridge replaced quickly. So using that original bridge as a temporary bridge just means that one more year of that bridge that we are going to use it for temporary condition. But again, we duly note your comment, and we can certainly look into this further. Mark or Derek, would you like to chime?
Yeah, this is Derek Lassar, Connecticut DOT. So, yeah, noted. And, Devin gave us a heads up of your comment, and we were somewhat anticipating this, and, not to regurgitate everything that they said, but we are pretty far along. At the end of the day, we do need to assess the costs associated with the design of going back. So that's something that we're going to weigh to our division chief for final blessing on this, because ultimately this current alignment with using a temporary bridge and maintaining the original alignment is our approved design. So we'll just have to go back and just expect us to reach back out to you. We'll have conversations with you and the town. So it's not the end of it. Don't want to snuff that conversation right now. Just understand that we got to talk internally and figure out what the best route is. And we'll work with the town, and we'll definitely reach back out to you and have the conversation. So thank you for the comment. And I hope you can appreciate the effort that the team here has put in regards to, making this design, this current layout that we have work. And just stay tuned, and we'll reach back out.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Hi, Karen and Scott. You are unmuted. You can talk.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. I do hope that they do reconsider that. I know that originally we were against the bridge being moved because we didn't want to destroy or
Aesthetics.
the aesthetics and have to take all those trees down if you're going to move the road just for a temporary bridge. So we had offered to have a walking bridge or something to maintain the integrity of that area. But if they're going to move the road and put a temporary bridge in any way, just make it the permanent bridge. So we didn't realize that the temporary bridge at the time was, still a plan. But with that said, I hope it's reconsidered and you reach back out to us on that. I just had two other concerns. One is the stop signs. We are the only house down there. We're very, dead end off of a dead end. And putting a stop sign there, you do understand when you go over that bridge, you go over to a closed gate that the only access to by car past that bridge is by state vehicles, which I'm assuming don't go up there very often because the road ends. It's a
We haven't seen a state vehicle down here in years.
right. So when
Years.
when you put a stop sign there, we get a lot of traffic down here when the highway gets shut down. People who are coming off the highway going to Love's, we have tractor trailers that come down here that get lost. Because of the truck stop and our access to the highway, we have random cars that come down here quite often. And by putting a stop sign down there, you're kind of inviting them to stop and come over. So they're going to come over that bridge and they're going to end, right past the bridge at a dead end, at a gate. Their only way to get out of there is to drive around our property, our driveway to get back outside the bridge, or tractor trailers will have to back out. So,
Which we've had in the past.
right, which they get lost. There's no reason for any other car other than us and our residents, the people that we know are coming in, friends or what have you, and a random state person. No one accessing the state forest, general public, should be over that bridge. There's nowhere for them to go but into our private property. So I'm against having a stop sign on that side, or any stop signs. We are the only house there. I would rather see a sign saying, no through traffic, there's
Private property.
private property. There's nowhere for a car to go other than to a closed gate that they have to either back up or inconvenience us and go through our property, which we're not happy about. The other thing is the parking areas. Right now, they're just dirt, they're just little pull-offs, but I see in the plan, there's going to be these big parking areas. You do understand that we are very close to the FedEx, the Love's truck stop, the other truck stop, random traffic off the highway, and it is a perfect spot for people to come and to park and to do drugs, to do all kinds of things. FedEx workers come down there, they do their drugs before and after work. We have people who come down here and park to hook up and, to leave a car down here. The people who fish and walk down here, they park on that dirt road, because there is a dirt road where past Stonehouse,
Fenton
Fenton
Road.
turns into dirt. For the amount of people who actually access the state forward for this little property, by putting parking lots, you're inviting a lot of probably questionable people right to our doorstep, and we're the only ones down there. So for our safety and our privacy, I would highly ask not to put big parking areas in there and not to put stop signs.
And also, for what it's worth, 15 people a day, I think, was the counter that went on. I can tell you that's an obnoxious number. There's no 15 people a day that go over that bridge. Aaron and I drive out in the morning to go to the gym. We come back. That's 2, if you want to call it. The postman comes over and goes back. If you want to call it, that's 4. There might possibly be an Amazon driver or a FedEx driver,
Make it
possibly
faster.
periodically. But the bottom line is, for the most part, if you go by the traffic counter that was put there, it's probably my golf cart going over it, because I go up to my neighbor Leroy's quite often. I'm on the other side of the bridge cleaning the roadway because I keep the road, both Stonehouse and Fenton, clean. So that's us. But as far as 15 people, and I know this is a mute
Yeah,
point,
there's no through traffic. The road
there's
ends
no,
right after the
there's
bridge.
no traffic
It ends
whatsoever.
in our driveway, that's it. So, I mean, I would really hate to see stop signs for no one and just inviting them over and areas for anybody and everyone to park. Just, that was my
Okay,
comment.
perfect. Thank you for your questions and comments. I'm going to give the team an opportunity to answer and get some responses back to you guys. Thank you.
All right, well, I can jump in here and answer some of those questions. So I'll start with the parking areas. As shown here on the west side of the bridge, we do have some parking areas being shown in the proposed condition, which there are parking areas there currently. Whether or not they're needed, that is something we'll have to consult with Connecticut Deep on, who maintains a state forest. So that's potentially some coordination we could have with them to see if those parking areas are needed or not. Another question that was brought up regarding the stop signs, because this roadway is only 14 feet across the bridge, there does need to be some sort of control to for traffic to cross. If there's slight chance, I understand that there's very few vehicles here. If two vehicles were to approach at the same time, it does need to be stop controlled. That is based on design requirements. Trying to think what other questions came up in that, but I think those were two of the main ones. If anybody else has any thoughts, they can share those too.
Yeah, I agree with your statement, Rob. We'll have to coordinate with the other regulatory agencies to make sure that those parking areas aren't needed at all.
There was a question about stop signs.
Yeah, I addressed that question.
Okay, just checking.
Yep.
For the interest of time, I am going to move on to the two questions that are in the chat currently. We have, will the bridge be made out of concrete or asphalt?
I can take that question as well. So the answer is both. It will be made out of both concrete and asphalt. The bridge abutments and the beams will be made out of concrete, and there will be an asphalt overlay that goes over the top of the bridge deck. So the approach roadway will be asphalt, and the on top of the bridge will be asphalt. So it'll be a nice smooth driving surface on top of the bridge.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob. We have a question about the need for this bridge for a single residence in a non-maintained area. Unimproved state lands. Leroy thinks it's a major waste of government money.
So,
I
and
can-
this is, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I can start on it. Thank you for your question. This bridge is in the National Bridge Inventory, or NBI. It carries a certified public road. So for those two criteria and the bridge being listed, evaluated as in poor condition, it's eligible for funding. If the town wishes to turn the bridge into a private road and then take it off effectively the inventory and leave it the responsibility of the property owners, there would be consultation with DEEP as well on that. But I don't think anyone is in the interest of taking bridges off the NBI. And at a time where infrastructure is not in the best of shape, it seems, despite only serving one resident, it is a bridge that does need to be maintained so that they can continue to use their residents.
And yeah, and this is Derek. I can add, we've had several small bridges like this in the state get washed out. Mark is part of a lot of those projects between Norwalk, Scotland. Several towns in the past year or two have had bridges exactly like this that gets washed out. And Scotland's one of the prime examples right now. They had people that were cut off. I think it was 6 residents that were completely cut off. So just with the big storms that we've been having, we'd hate to see something like that happen and have to do an emergency replacement for someone. So we're getting ahead of that and putting a bridge here that would be resilient to the larger storms that we're getting these days. So yeah.
And if I just may add, the fact that the $3.5 million actually is the total construction cost. It's just not the cost of the bridge construction itself, but it's also the cost of construction inspection personnel who will be monitoring the construction, material testing, and a lot of other incidentals, and some money for contingencies that are programmed as part of the $3.5 million. So in reality, the actual construction cost, could and should probably be a little lower, but this is just a fund that combines the construction costs and all the other things to come up with this number.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. So we have Scott and Karen one more time. I'm going to allow them to speak. Hi, Karen and Scott, you should be unmuted. Can you hear?
Looks like they're still muted.
They have, yeah, they have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There,
So
no, you're
I
good.
have a couple of questions here. As far as the stonework's concerned, it was mentioned there, but I've seen and heard other issues where is it going to be like stampcrete or is it going to be real stone?
We're planning to use real stone here because the existing bridge is made out of stone masonry. It is eligible to be replaced. The wing walls will be faced with real
Sloping.
stone.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as raising the bridge, we had never heard that as of yet, but again, going back to the whole, if we're going to build a bridge, a walking bridge, and then take one out and back and forth, we've already discussed this. I don't want to kill a dead horse here, but moving the bridge upstream to us would make more sense at this point, now knowing the construction of everything. Moving it upstream, if that's the possibility, if it's still available, which supposedly you guys are only 30% design stage at this point, but raising the bridge is just one more thing that we're opposed to as far as we've been here 37 years and it is a beautiful, gorgeous setting down here that we have absolutely loved for 37 years. And now with this new bridge going in, I know you folks all know that we have been opposed to it. I think it's gross negligence of spending, if you ask me, on our federal dollars, but that's my opinion. But as far as raising up the bridge another foot or two is just going to make it that much more of an eyesore, in my opinion. And I think Karen would agree on that. So I don't know that that's necessary, whatever. That's, if we could answer that one, and I've still got another one or two.
The reason we're proposing to raise the bridge is to improve the hydraulic performance. And as Derek mentioned before, there's been issues of bridges washing out with some recent storms, and that's what we're trying to avoid. And if we can improve the performance of the bridge during a storm event, just to allow more water to pass under the bridge without damaging it, then that's part of our goal. So raising the bridge to improve hydraulics is the main purpose there.
In addition, this
Okay.
is Derek. It's a permitting requirement also. So we have certain requirements we need to meet in order to get permits to build the structure. Otherwise, they wouldn't allow us to build it. We wouldn't be permittable. So that's the other aspect.
Okay, Karen?
You're still unmuted if you have one more question. We have time for one more
Oh,
question.
okay.
Waiting for me.
Okay, the one thing that we had talked before, acquisition of our property was never brought up. We knew that might be some, things on our property that might need to get dug up. We maintain the other side of the bridge. We maintain a lot. We understand that, there's going to be changes to that. But this is the first we've heard of actually losing part of our property to this project. So if so all more for us wanting the bridge to be moved upstream, because we certainly don't want to lose any of our property over it. Based on what you're seeing here, I mean, what are we looking at? I mean, we have a garage right there. We have a driveway right there. It's our view to the river. I mean, how much encroachment or, acquisition are we talking here?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Karen. This is the impact plan. So your property is shown here on the lower right.
Yep.
We are showing a small partial take, which is just this section shown in green. It's maybe 50 or 60 square feet. Just a small little section in order to maintain this wing wall to support the roadway embankment. And then these other sections here, shown in blue, is just a slope easement. That doesn't take property from you. It just allows us to do the grading that's needed for the roadway construction. And then same with the area shown in orange, which is a right to grade the driveway. And that's mostly because we're planning to raise the roadway. So in order to tie in your driveway to it, we'll have to reconstruct a portion of that. But that
So
will
to
still
raise,
be maintained within your ownership.
so you're planning on raising the driveway?
Just at the roadway level. And then it'll tie into the existing.
I'm not understanding, Rob. The level of the road right now, are you saying it's gonna be higher than that?
So the roadway, as we mentioned before, is going to get raised in order to improve the hydraulics and um, allow for permit approvals. Because the roadway is going to get raised, your driveway will need to get reconstructed for this distance shown here in order to tie the proposed roadway elevation into the existing driveway. So that this is shown at a 5% grade. It's a pretty mild grade that is based on a town ordinance. You can't have it any steeper than 5%, and that's a pretty shallow grade. So it should be a nice, easy transition for you.
Okay.
Just to add on to what Rob mentioned earlier. So yeah, the green area, the partial take, that would be a fee acquisition. So that'd be the state's acquiring it, but we'll be transferring these rights to the town after the project. So that will become part of the right of way of the road. Again, so that way the bridge is not on your property, it's within the town's right of way. And the slope easement is permanent. So it's an easement, so you're still the fee owner. But like Rob mentioned, that's basically gives us the ability to be able, with the town, the ability to maintain that slope and come back, in the future to make sure the bridge is supported. And the orange is all temporary rights, just kind of basic as part of the project that Rob was mentioning.
I think the last question on my end is this discussion of making the bridge now 14 feet wide versus 12 feet wide. Again, we've been here 37 years and we have never, ever, ever had to at any point stop for another vehicle coming down the road. I don't understand why the bridge would need to be widened 2 feet. There's no reason for it whatsoever. I heard that there was rumor that the woman from DEEP, I'm sorry, I don't have a name, but she mentioned having fire trucks come across it. And I would challenge anyone to bring a fire truck down here for purposes of the state forest and going up into the state forest. I actually was up there today blowing leaves off the dirt road to keep the state forest road maintained from turning to mud. But bottom line, there is no, and I don't know if Bill Morrison is still on the phone here, but I would be happy to have him drive the West Stafford truck down here, and let's bring it up into the woods and let's see exactly how far he will go with that truck. Because I'm assuring you, number one, the 12-foot wide bridge is more than wide enough to get any fire truck. We have had triaxes over here for years. We've had septic trucks, concrete trucks. I've done 19 different pours on this piece of property with concrete trucks from Modus Concrete years ago. And there's never ever been a width issue, for that matter, a strength issue either. But widening the road, I am dead against. There's no reason for it whatsoever. It would only invite more people coming down or whatever. But I can tell you a fire truck will easily go over the bridge that is there right now, no problem. We've had tractor trailers come over it, which of course they've destroyed our property in the process. We've had 2 different sprinkler heads ruined in the past. They've smashed off our driveway sensor. With just issues with them coming across and then not being able to turn around. So if you could address that one, I don't see any need whatsoever of making the bridge any wider.
So I can jump in to answer that. The reason we're proposing a 14-foot roadway width, that was based on some early coordination we had with Connecticut Deep, who maintains a state forest. They had requested that we provide a bridge width of 14 to 16 feet. They had mentioned the possibility of some forestry work being done in the future, and want to be able to have a bridge that would accommodate their forestry equipment. So in order to minimize it, we decided to go with the lower of their requirement of 14 feet. So that's what we're sticking with for now.
Am I still on?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, you are.
Am I still on?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you are. Yep.
Okay, so if you could send me information on a vehicle that needs to have 14-foot width or 16-foot width, I would hugely appreciate it. I've been in the construction trades for 40 years, all my life. I've never seen any log. As a matter of fact, by the way, I've had log trucks in my property several times over the years. There's never been a log truck that had any form of an issue coming over. My brother owns a crane business that he just recently sold. We've had his crane over the bridge. We took out multiple pine trees in the yard. There's never been an issue with the width of the bridge, and for that matter, the strength, but let's just stick with the width at this point. I don't understand why DEEP feels that they need a wider bridge, and I'm okay with it. Show me the vehicle that needs that width, and I'll agree with that piece of it. Not that I'm running the show here, because I'm not. But the last time that DEEP, and actually it was DEP at that point, the last time they logged the state forest was years and years ago. Ed McGuire and Dean Hyde at that point had refurbished the road coming in from the Love's Truck Stop side off of Polster Road. They came in over near the Mahaliak Extension Dirt Road, and there's a gate there now, but they reapproved the road coming in that way. They had the bulldozer in there, and they had all the log trucks coming in and out that way. So my point being here now is that widening the bridge, there's absolutely no need of it, but if they can show me the vehicle that needs to go up in, the log truck, skid steer, skidder, whichever vehicle it is, I would certainly be more appeasing to it, but I don't feel it's necessary at all, and I'm dead against going with a wider bridge. We are only inviting more people, tractor trailers, which we have a nonstop issue. By the way, we called the cops yesterday on a tractor trailer coming down Rockwell Road and onto Polster and out to Love's Truck Stop. It is clearly the signage is clear on both ends. There's signs in the middle, the whole works. And this guy from Saskatchewan, Canada, said that he was just going to make the run anyway. He said he was sorry, but he was going to make the run. So I called the local police. I talked to Jimmy Desso on it. And bottom line, nothing could be done because he crossed the Willington line. But bottom line, we have a major problem on this road system right here between Rockwell and Fenton and Polster, where these tractor trailers are coming in and they're not supposed to be on the roads. And now by widening the bridge, that is only going to invite more of that down in our, in our one residence property.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Bradley. So this is Derek again. We'll talk to Deep, no issue. We'll see what piece of equipment that they were referencing for requiring 14 feet. So no issue with that. We'll follow up with you. And honestly, I think we're going to meet back out with you and your wife, and we'd love to chat in person. I know you guys are the ones directly affected by this project. We do work for the public. We're working for the town here too, so we want to appease everybody as best we can. We do have limitations, obviously, with things, and but we definitely want to address as many comments as we can. So we've documented all your comments. We have this presentation recorded too, so we'll make sure we go through and be prepared to respond to you in person. So just expect one of my team members to reach out at some point. We'll meet with you and we can hash some things out. So, but yeah, appreciate all your comments. Understood. We're disrupting an area that, you guys have lived there for a long time. So I can only imagine, if I lived there too, I'd be speaking up also. So comments are noted. So just stay tuned. We'll go back and meet with you and hopefully we can address everything and all of your concerns. Again, as noted, you guys noted it, we're at 30% design. So just, we'll do our best to incorporate what we can. There were a couple other comments in the Q&A, I believe from Mr. Ziegler. Yes, I think there was an incorrect note on the road. That's noted. It is Stonehouse Road that this bridge carries, so we understand that. We'll make that change. And yeah, we noted, I think we were aware of the flood that you guys had in 2005. So understand that the bridge was not washed away at that time, but it is still a stone masonry abutment system that is prone to scour and undermining. So towns have been losing bridges. I'd hate to see that happen here for Mr. and Mrs. Bradley here to not have access. So that's really what we're trying to prevent long term. Yeah, so I think that's it for the Q&A section. So Mr. and Mrs. Bradley, just expect us to reach out. We'll meet in person and we'll have some time to address things. So Michelle, that's all I have now. I don't know if Mr. Morrison, if you have any other comments. If not, we can probably end it at this point if you're good.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that the comment period is open until December 31st, and you can still send us your comments, anything you think of to our emails, dot.flbp@ct.gov. I think that Karen and Scott, you both have Mark and I's and Bill's emails, maybe Rob's as well. You can, for anybody else in the attendees list, you can send a phone voicemail 860-594-2020 and just reference the project number in that voicemail as well. And I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Like the state, so
It's hard to hear you, Bill. I don't know if it's just on my end. Is it everybody else here in static?
Yeah, you're breaking up towards the end there, Bill.
Scott and Karen will continue to talk. Derek and all team continue to talk. We'll see if we can get this thing done. Thank you all, and Scott and Karen for being a part of it tonight.
Yeah, I think it was broken up, but you're saying we'll definitely meet with the Bradleys. So yep, that's the game plan. Thanks.
You're muted, Michelle.
Apologize. Well, that's it for the question and answer section. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and have a great rest of your week. Happy holidays.
Thank you.